goodness, guys, welcome into the first ever Inspection Support Network First-Year Home Inspector Masterclass. Matt Brading, that was a mouthful, man.
Yeah, you handled it though.
I tried to, but for those of y'all out here that watch the Ride Along podcast, you've seen the two of us on there. Now, this is going to be something a little bit different that we've kind of had in the works for a little while now. But I mean, Matt, we've talked about this in the last episode. But do you remember your first year as being a home inspector?
Yeah, I do. It was pretty uneventful, honestly, because it's a pretty tough business to kind of break into, which I think is part of the conversation we're going to be having today. But yeah, I remember it. It was scary. It was stressful trying to figure out how in the world I was going to start getting jobs and actually make it a career one day.
Yeah, and we've got 17 people that are watching right now. This is also live streaming on YouTube in a couple of different places. But let's say hey to folks in the chat. Mark, are you able to see them over there?
Well, hello to everybody, and yes, now I see the chat button here.
There we go. Yeah. Hey,
Chat?
everybody, feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar today. Because again, this isn't meant to just be a lecture. This is supposed to be interactive. And you know, I'm excited to share the host with you guys here today because I've gotten to participate with his business coaching that he's done not just for IEB but also personally. And guys, it's some phenomenal material that you're going to get to learn. It's helped me a ton because I've not just worked for a home inspection company on my own, I've worked for my own, but I've also worked for a major franchise. And but when I went and started out on my own, it was difficult trying to figure out how do I actually do all the things that a big corporation was already doing. How do you do that on your own? And everything that Mark and IEB teaches is helpful with that. But Matt, for those that I don't want to assume that everybody watches the Ride Along, so real quick, introduce them to yourself too, and what you do out in Texas, man.
Yeah, so Matt Brading, owner and lead inspector at Texas Edge Home Inspections. I've got myself and two others out here doing final home inspections, phase construction inspections, things like that, warranty inspections all throughout the Houston area. And social media videos, man. I make a lot of social media videos related to home inspection.
You're that guy that says that things are not supposed to do that.
It's not supposed to do that guy. Yeah, that's right.
It. Yeah. And Mark, introduce everybody to yourself as well, man. We're so glad to have you on here.
Awesome. Yeah, Brad, Matt, thank you for having me. It's quite a treat to get to jump on with you guys. And I am excited about this conversation specifically because it's what we eat, sleep, live, and breathe inside Inspector Empire Builder. We want to help as many home inspection business owners as we can cut the trial and error out of launching their business, growing it, scaling it, refining it, building whatever your version of an empire is. And so I'm excited to jump into this with you guys. Me personally, I'm what you would consider to be a high performance business coach. And so I am deeply passionate about building people so that the people can build their businesses. And you'll see some of that coming out tonight as we're walking through some of this content.
No,
can we talk about the picture in that previous slide?
I mean,
like, is that a candle in the background?
Yeah, I think it's a candle.
That is a stoic picture. That makes me want a lot of candle right now. I'm not going to
philosophy, seriously. Yeah, no, it's awesome. But guys, I want to tell y'all why we're doing this, right? If you've noticed, like usually, Matt, you and I, we do the podcast twice a month. We've got some awesome guests on there, but the whole concept of the ride along was to kind of bring some of the best minds in the home inspection industry and in the construction industry, so that we could all kind of learn and grow from it, right? And like when I was learning to do home inspections, when I was getting licensed, I had to do ride-alongs with people, so that I was able to learn from the best about how to do the job the absolute best as possible. And but there's so much, man, that I wish that I was taught that I didn't learn until much later. And had I known that, I think it would have kind of like smoothed that intro into the inspection industry, especially, launching a business for myself. So I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I wish someone had taught me some advanced business skills a little earlier on.
For sure. I mean, like, I always say that we, learn from our mistakes, but what's even better is to learn from the mistakes of others, right? And so, like, we can get on here and we can have real life conversations with other inspectors and people such as Mark about things that they have done with their businesses that may have worked and maybe some that didn't work. And we can kind of communicate about that and let people know, these things are, some good steps to consider. And these are some of them that you might want to stay away from.
Yeah, Rick, thanks for saying that. Is my audio level, does it sound any better now? I bumped the volume a tad.
Hey, your volume's fine. Did you just call me Rick?
Well, no, Rick was saying something in the chat. So
Oh, where's the? I'm in the chat. I don't see Rick.
he must be down near the bottom.
Where are you, Rick? I'm looking for you. I'm going to find you, Rick. I'll work on it.
Uh,
Oh, there it is. I got
There
it.
he is. All right, so guys, here's what y'all can expect in the next few weeks, because this is not just going to be just tonight. I really hope that you guys stay engaged with this throughout the coming week ahead, because there's going to be some follow up. But then in 2 weeks, we're going to have a follow up session to this. There's going to be 3 months of this. This is going to go from now all the way through mid September, and there's going to be 2 classes per month. 3 modules total. So the first one in July, we're going to be focusing on identity and business planning, kind of the core foundation to everything that you're going to be doing when you execute your business, when you actually get it operational. The second module in August is going to be around the basics and essentials of marketing and sales, and how you can set up a plan for that. And then finally in September, we're going to talk about systems and implementation, how to take everything that you've learned and roll it out and actually make it happen. How to hook up the horse to the cart and make that thing go. So that's really going to be the three big months, 3 big modules, but one main outcome, which is that you guys have a better understanding of who you are and a solid game plan for what you need to be doing. So, because Mark, you've got a saying that I've heard you iterate many times, which is that a lot of business owners, they know what they want to do, but they have no idea what to do in the next 10 minutes. So this is going to help them with that for sure, right?
It better. The only way it would not is if they're not taking notes and they're not taking action.
That's it. Now, so don't just listen, guys. Participate with this. Here's the key dates that you could be paying attention to. So today, Mark's going to be talking all about finding your purpose in life and in business. In 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about how to build a proper business plan that aligns with that purpose. And then in August, Matt is going to be talking about the essentials of marketing and sales. So you guys are definitely going to want to be here for that one. Then we've got a special guest who has a very similar tagline to you, Matt, but and also an epically bearded inspector gentleman from out in Colorado, and he's going to be talking about the essentials of building a brand. That's going to be Mr. Brent Fletcher. So that's going to be cool. September, implementing systems and processes in the field and office, and one of those guests is going to be Mr. Ken Humphreys, who you remember him, Matt? Y'all had a pretty good.
How could I forget?
Yeah, pretty good little back and forth. You need to go back and watch that episode of the Ride Along if you haven't. But anyway, yeah, Jenny, looking at your comment here, have the Zoom invites been sent out yet for the upcoming webinars? It's all via the same link. So save this link and you can keep coming back to it for each one of these. So we'll send out reminders before the webinars happen, but it's all going to be right here. Made it real easy for you guys. So, and then, hey, here's the thing. After the masterclass today, there's going to be homework and some discussion that could be taking place. So we'll have some assignments that can help you implement what you've learned and a follow-up quiz as well. So that's going to all be on a platform called Thinkific, and I'll share the link in the chat at the end. So you're going to have to stick around all the way through Mark's presentation here because he's got some gold stuff coming up. So Mark, let's turn it over to you, man. I'm excited.
Awesome. Okay, so have we figured out, real quick, Brad, have we figured out how to get me to click through, or should we switch presenters?
Let's switch. I'll go ahead and X mine out. You go ahead and share yours.
Perfect. Let's do it like this. All right, tech check. Can you see that?
I can see it.
Yep, looks good.
Looking
it's not
good.
Perfect, but it looks good. All right, so I am super excited to have this conversation with you guys tonight. And I really want it to be a conversation because I love to go back and forth with people and make this not just like mind in the clouds lecture, but really practical so that you guys can actually take something away from this that you will go do in your life and your business. That's what's most important to me, is that as we're talking through this, you are looking for something to take away from it. And when you do look for something, you'll find something. And so for those of you who are here live and anybody who listens to this later, go ahead and just get out a piece of paper, get a pen, be ready to take some notes, write down questions. And for sure, if you have the chat function open, be ready to drop some questions there. And every once in a while, I'll just kind of skim the chat and see where we're at. So with that, I'll just give a quick intro. I won't talk about this a lot, but in case somebody doesn't know who we are or what we do in IEB, the short version is that we are a business coaching company specifically for home inspection business owners. We have coaching for all levels of inspectors, from solo, just starting your business, all the way up to the group that I lead personally, which we call the enterprise team, and they have a minimum of 4,000 inspections a year, which are the larger companies in the industry. And so we serve every business stage in between that as well. The reason it's important to know that is because these are not just my ideas that I'm going to share with you tonight. These are battle-tested, true concepts that work at the highest levels of business in your industry and frankly, in any industry. And so these are also all science-backed principles, because we are complete data nerds and science nerds in our coaching company. So we're always looking for best practice and things that actually help people get results. That's the most important thing for us. So at this point, thousands of companies have come through IEB. And so we have this awesome view from coast to coast and from Canada all the way into Mexico for inspectors and what's going on in their markets, what's working, what keeps them motivated and feeling fulfilled building a business versus burned out and just kind of winging it and hating their life. And this is what we're going to go through. So before we can really talk about how to get off the ground and create something for yourself, I want to just share a few things I see that frankly kind of take people out of the game before they ever really get started. And especially if you are new to business, or if you're in a turbulent market right now, or maybe you've just never heard some of these concepts, I want to just paint a little bit of a picture of what is causing people to fail in our industry and what's causing people to leave our industry, so that you can kind of look for these things and maybe even say, I'm experiencing that right now. I need to make a change in my life or business. And then we'll go into all the things you need to put in place before you even start thinking about growing and scaling a business. So with that, the reality, then we're going to go talk about life vision. Then we're going to talk about what you're doing in your business at all, why you're even there, what you're even going to be accomplishing with your business, the purpose. And then I'm going to give you guys a roadmap that you can use that will not just keep you pointed toward your vision, the thing that you're here to do, not a business, but a vision bigger than the business. But I'm going to give you the steps you can put in place so that you will continually and consistently walk toward your vision, which again is my favorite part of this: execution, something you can take and execute today. Some of these numbers blow my mind. I got to be honest with you guys. And so in our industry, we see numbers that look like this. Now, the first thing I want to say is that none of these numbers are written in stone. It's very hard to get exact data. So think of this as talking points, not necessarily exact numbers. But these are relatively true in my experience working with thousands of companies all over North America. And so something like 50% of new inspectors fail to build a sustainable business within their first few years for a number of reasons. And so if you went through school, something like 50 to 60% of the people who went through school with you, after year one, not even there anymore. 60% of students who complete their training are not in business 1 year later. Again, lots of reasons for that, but we're going to go into a few of them so that you guys can look for these. 26% of inspectors leave the field within 1 to 2 years. And so what this is telling is a story that says, as people go through training, a little more than most will never do an inspection. A big percentage of that will leave the industry within year 1 or 2. And then a very few number of people will actually build a sustainable business. Now, why is that important for you guys to know before I talk about anything else? It's because you have to play the long game. You have to understand that there are levels to this, and you have to understand that hope is not a strategy. The people who are hoping for good results, they're in those percentages that are leaving the industry or not doing inspections. Here's some of why people fail to launch. So, in the beginning, as you're starting your company, any company, by the way, in any industry, only two things really matter. The first one is that you have an excellent product. Now, that is your home inspection, right? And as you mature as a business owner, it could be a few other things as you add ancillaries and different things like that. But in the beginning, you have an excellent product and you know how to sell it. Two things. Nothing else really matters other than that. Now, what I'm saying clearly is only those two things matter. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, it means that a lot of people get distracted from those two things. They're not refining what they're doing, getting faster, more efficient, learning their inspection flow, getting better with their reports. They're not refining their product. And then they never really develop the ability to sell it because they over rely on a handful of tactics that might have some initial success, like maybe somebody in the market happens to like you, and so they give you a few inspections, or they don't necessarily understand sales. And we'll drill down into this a little bit more as we go. But
So, Mark, hey,
sales, oh
real
yeah,
quick, Mark, before you move on to that, like, do you think like this failure to launch is like due to a lack of knowledge, or do you think it's like a lack of motivation and drive?
the full answer is yes. And so I think it's knowledge. I also think that it's motivation and drive, but it's not motivation and drive because people are lazy. What the data shows is that when you don't know how to do something and you get your teeth kicked in over and over again
Yeah,
and you feel like a failure, you lose motivation.
they become demotivated by the lack of knowledge.
That's right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, for sure. Good question, man. Yeah, so if we can just wrap our heads around two things in this entire series you guys are putting on, you have an excellent product and you know how to sell it, like you'll get moving pretty quickly in your market. Uh, so what I see a lot of people failing with is they're working on marketing strategies as brand new inspectors, which is necessary, but they're trying to apply marketing strategies to sales situations. And so what that means is a lot of times people are sitting behind their computer, looking at their website and their social media and their email campaigns and all the things that have buttons behind them instead of getting out and talking to people. And as often as we talk about this, and as much as people know that this is a relationship marketing, a relationship sales industry, they still kind of sit behind their computer hoping for business to come to them rather than going out building relationships that lead to business and referrals. And so sales is fast. You go out, you build relationships, you rub shoulders with some people in your market, you learn how to talk to agents, and you can start to see your sales creep up. Marketing is completely necessary, but it's a slower game. A lot of companies fail in their first year or two because their hope is that they can dump a lot of money into marketing and it will just grow their company without ever having developed sales skills. Another big one, and I think this is to your point, Matt, this is completely demotivating. Statistically speaking, anybody that has more than three high level goals at a time, and I don't mean they don't have more than three goals. I mean, they're calling three of them or less important goals. To make that more concise, if you have more than three goals, high level goals, statistically, you won't accomplish any of them. And so if you're starting a business and you've got this task list of a million things and you're treating the whole task list like it's very important and you don't know where to direct your energy, that's completely demotivating. And at the end of the day, your important goals never go away. That list never gets smaller. And so a lot of times people fail in their first year or two in business because they just don't know how to prioritize what to do first. In IEB, we think about it like Legos. You guys ever open a box of Legos and you're like, maybe when you were a kid, it was just Legos all over the place and an instruction book. But now when you open Legos, it's like multiple bags and steps for each bag. And so the way we explain it is if you take a box of Legos and you dump them all out on the table and then try to build a house out of it, it's going to be a complete disaster. Like, you might build something, but it's going to take a lot of trial and error. It's going to take a lot of building and tearing it down and rebuilding it, which is what a lot of people do in their inspection business. But if you read the instructions and you go in order, very quickly you build something out of whatever was supposed to be in that box. Business is the same way. So we see people with too many goals, trying to do things in the wrong order in their business. And because of that, they have just enough results to kind of keep them interested, but not enough results to keep them motivated. And their business a lot of times will fail because of that. One more is strategy hopping. This one is right out of the high performance coaching playbook. So one of the things we want to see people doing is laying out a strategy for how they're going to run and grow their business, specifically grow their business, and then stick with that strategy for a period that's long enough that they can get better at the strategy. But here's what actually happens. I see this all the time with inspection business owners. They'll say, today I'm going to do cold calls. I'm just going to start calling agents and see if that works. And hopefully that'll grow my business because I sure do need the money and the volume right now. So they pick up the phone. They start making tons of phone calls, which, by the way, always feels terrible because nobody likes cold calls. And maybe they have a bad experience, but every once in a while they have a good experience out of 100 bad calls, which is just enough to keep them interested, but not enough to keep them motivated. And so then they say something like, well, that didn't work. I'm going to try open houses. I'm going all in on open houses now. For a few weeks, that works. And then they say, I'm going to go all in on social media. I'm going to go back to cold calls when that doesn't work. And this is just one example from the growth lane of your business. But strategy hopping is it's an incredibly detrimental thing to your business. And what we want to see people do rather than strategy hopping is have an expert strategy put in place and then use it until you get really good at it. So as an example, if you're in the growth lane of your business in year one of your key strategies is going to be to go to open houses, to use social media, and to use maybe some cold calls here and there just to introduce yourself, not sell things. And you're going to have to string that together into a strategy that you can actually accomplish in a period of time and not burn out doing it, and then consistently do that for a long period of time rather than hopping from one thing to the other and never improving. So strategy hopping, big deal. Oh, one point on that is the highest performing companies that I know, they don't make a lot of changes inside of 90 days. And so if you're thinking like a business owner, you think, I'm going to put a strategy in place and we're going to run it for at least 90 days to see how it goes. Really important point there. Quick note on teams, even though this isn't necessarily a popular topic right at the beginning of starting a business, it's a necessary topic right at the beginning of starting a business, especially if you know that you're going to turn into a multi-inspector firm at some point. The two things I see the most is that they hire too fast, meaning they don't quite understand what's happening in their market. They just feel busy. And so they hire a technician, even though the market might not support the growth, which is a lack of understanding for their market analysis is what that is. And then the pattern number two is that they hired reluctantly. I see this a lot. And I could ever hire an inspector because nobody will ever do it as good as I can do it. I hear that so often that it makes me cringe. And the truth is what I tell people is if you're that good, you should hire people and train them to do it that well. But oftentimes this is a bottleneck for people as they're growing their business beyond themselves. And so what do you do with all this? We have to have the right starting point in mind. Your company deserves to have a leader in place that can not just strategize, have an awesome product and know how to sell it, but you need to be able to build it for the future.
I got a question on that too, Mark. When it comes to being the leader that your company deserves, if the first priority is leading yourself well, how do you as the leader know when you've arrived at the point that you're ready to expand, that you're ready to hire, that you're ready to branch out?
Man, that's a good question. And it's going to have one of those vague answers like, you never know. on one hand. You kind of just got to take the risk at some point. But something I would say to anybody, if we were really kind of testing their leadership skill, and we are doing this with a lot of large companies right now as we're working on leadership development in their teams and with the owners, you have to continually be building yourself as a leader. And this is what we call the ceiling test. So how do you know you're ready to be the leader of your company? Well, you're becoming the leader the company needs. It's not that you are the leader the company needs. It's that you're actively pursuing becoming the leader your company needs, which means you're going to be learning things about financials. You're going to be learning things about how to communicate with your team as you hire a team. You're going to be learning things about maybe like what we teach in IEB, our 5 pillars: service, operations, growth, high performing teams, and financials. As long as you're learning all the time, little things here and there that you can take back into your business, then you're not stopping at a ceiling of growth as a leader, which means your business won't stop at your ceiling of growth as the leader of the business. And so that's the best answer I know how to give, is you probably will never feel completely ready to do anything ever if it has a risk and is important to you. But as long as you're working on who you are, like, you're going to go places.
Well, I mean, it kind of like pricing, it's volume driven sometimes, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. We could talk.
If you're getting calls that you can't get to, then, it may be time for you to start considering growing a team.
100%. Yeah, that's a very fun topic in my nerdy managerial economics brain. That's supply and demand, right? And the way that we teach it, is if you are turning away business, raise your prices or hire a team, or both. Period. Don't leave money on the table. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. We could talk pricing strategy all day too. We love talking about airline pricing as supply and demand goes up and down seasonally throughout the year. And but maybe that's for another webinar. So diving into this, why people leave the industry. That the first ones were why people fail in the industry, but why people are leaving the industry. This is the most common list of things that I see. One is they've never really committed to the work of building a business. And so if you're listening to this and you're somewhere in that startup stage, year 1, year 2, maybe even year 5 or 10, but you've never fully committed to the work of building a business, you're probably feeling a lot of the pressure that I'm used to seeing people carry, which is questions like, is this even really possible? Am I going to be able to grow this company? Why am I doing this at all? A common scenario too is that people are not prepared to fully commit to the work of building a business. And so that kind of holds them back, which we'll talk about more. The second one is they could not pay their bills. And so they literally just had no financial runway and had to go back and do something else. And now they're struggling with both number 1 and number 2 here. Number 3 is straddling 2 lanes. I see this very often, is that people have a job and they're trying to grow their inspection business on the side, which is totally possible, but it takes an all-in approach to grow your business, understanding that you can have a job that supports you and pays your bills, and it's going to take a lot of grind and effort to also grow a business. This is very common because our industry has a low barrier to enter, right? Lots of people can jump into it while trying to hold on to their W-2.
Can I expand on that for a second? Because I mean,
Please.
I've said oftentimes that, because people ask a lot. I mean, with my social media reach, I have people ask me a lot of questions about starting their business and stuff, and whether or not, because a lot of people think that they want to do this as a side gig. And I thought that whenever I started too. But after I started, I kind of realized if you want to be successful at doing it on the side, it's a little bit hard to be successful and profitable doing it part-time and be good at it and get people to call, because business builds business, and like the best form of marketing is your actual product that you're putting out there, because that's seen by people, which ultimately gets you more calls. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. I think you've touched on some of those things. But I mean, like for me, like I never really thought it much after I figured out that it was going to be a full-time thing for me. I never really encouraged a whole lot of people to do it part-time, because there is overhead in it. You have to carry insurance. You have to buy a lot of tools. It's going to, take a lot to be profitable, but it can be a good strategy, I think, in some cases for people to make that transition. And so do you have any ideas about how people can feel more comfortable and secure making that transition from like going at it part time with the intention to go full time? That's what I did.
Yes.
But I think that can be a tough one to make because I mean it's hard to cut that cord if you have another job.
Dude, it's killer. Like it's very difficult to let go of the security of a paycheck for an uncertain business model that you're trying to grow. It is scary.
Very.
And so I do have some tips I would throw out for people. First off, our industry is so funny to me because a lot of the people that I see doing this, going from a job to a business owner and trying to hold both, there's a lot of police officers, there's a lot of firefighters, and there's a lot of pastors doing it. But there's also people, of course, in construction and tech and a lot of other industries. There's some really good best practice for this. And this is a well-studied thing. Like, what does it look like to go from the security of a W-2 job and a paycheck and healthcare and all the things that come with that to the risk and uncertainty of being an entrepreneur? The first step is that if you're completely broke, meaning you have no reserves, you have no money in your savings, then you're going to always be making fear-based decisions. And so I would always recommend that if you're preparing yourself to make a jump into full-time work with your inspection business from a job, you got to be putting money away. Like you got to be able to get to a point where if you weren't quite covering all of your bills with your inspection business, it would be okay because you had enough savings for a few months to pad your bills while you were still growing. So that's one thought, is put money away before you make the jump, and then you have more runway. The second thing I'd say is that you can play this off as a percentage of whatever it is you currently make. And I've seen different numbers for this. And so don't quote me exactly on the number, but if you think about it like this, it could be helpful. Once you're making a certain percentage of the money that you need to make in order to keep the lifestyle you want from your business, then you should go all in on the business and quit your job. That's the conventional wisdom. And it's usually something like 40 or 50% plus your savings that I was just talking about. Because what you'll realize is once you have the safety of not having to freak out about paying your bills and living your lifestyle, and also you've built a little momentum, meaning you're covering 40 or 50% of your income that you need. Once you have that momentum and you go all in, it should accelerate. It's not like you're going to stay at 50%, because if you were able to get there without going all in, it should be really good when you do. All right. So
there's a good question here. Since we were just talking about finances, Rebecca Stinson in the chat has said, how or from where would you recommend hiring a VA to support scheduling? Like at what point kind of financially? I mean, is that something, you would do more upfront or once you got the ball rolling a bit?
Okay, so this is a great topic. We could probably spend an entire hour and a half just running through the chat questions if people drop them in here, and that would be fun. So VA help is all the rage right now in service-based business models for answering phones, for scheduling, not necessarily outreach a ton right now, but that's growing. And so this is how I teach it. And so there's service, operations, and growth. Those are the three lanes of a home inspection business. A VA typically will fit somewhere into your operations division early on, because as you're growing your business and getting to full capacity and beyond, and then of course, if you hire people, you're getting even more busy. What we want to see you do is get as many operational items off your plate as quickly as you can with VA help, or what we would call operations support. It doesn't have to be a VA. It could be somebody stateside or local or whatever in your office if you have that. But to the financial piece of it, we really want to see that this person is not going to be like the last few pennies you have and you're spending it on this. You have to get to probably close to full capacity before you should start bringing people on, unless you're just killing it with revenue. And so I guess if I had to make that a little more clear, I'd say if you're covering your bills, you have enough margin, you're pulling profit out of your business as a solopreneur, get some operational help and free yourself up so that you can focus more on growth and growing your business. But you do have to put some skin in the game early on to earn that revenue to be able to pay for that person. Let's talk about what that looks like, though. For a full-time VA, somebody who could be 40 hours a week, most people think that it's going to be, a ton of money, but it's going to be less than $2,000 a month if you're paying a full-time VA. And it may be even way cheaper than that, depending on where you get them. It could be more, but
That feels expensive if I think back to my like first year brain,
yeah,
first 2 year brain. That feels expensive.
I can completely understand that. But check this out. If you're all in and you're the owner of the business, you're the revenue producer of your business and the person responsible for growth in your business, but you're spending time doing $10 an hour work, in my mind, you're pretty much stealing opportunity from the company because you're using your highest talent, highest paid resource to do the lowest end work possible, and it's keeping you bottlenecked and busy. We see this all the time. And so it doesn't have to be $2,000 a month. A lot of people start with a part-time VA that's way cheaper than that. But the operational support it's life-changing once you're ready for it.
I waited way too long. So I mean, it was more like a supply and demand thing for me. Like I kind of ran it that way and went way too long, and pretty much was burnt out for years before
Yeah.
finally deciding to make the move to have some help in that department. And so I mean, I'm not the best to ask because because of my experience, but I guess in some respects I am because I know I waited too long. But I can think back and think that seemed expensive. That was what held me back.
Yeah.
But I don't think I quite looked at it like you're speaking about how it was holding me back from growth. I just knew the expense was holding me back mentally from making the jump.
Well, Matt, I'm glad you're talking about this because it's right in alignment with our bigger conversation for tonight, the burnout that happens in year one, all of the bottlenecks that happen around uncertainty. And as you get to full capacity, one of the decision points that everybody's going to get to is, am I going to stay at full capacity and just be a solopreneur and have an awesome lifestyle company? Or am I going to become a multi-inspector firm and hire somebody? Well, at the end of the day, the answer is yours to own and there's no wrong answer, but you want to have an awesome lifestyle. Like, I don't know about you guys, but everybody I talked to that got into business so that they had some form of freedom, not so that they could be a slave to doing everything in their business all the time and have no energy to do anything else. And so when you think about that $1,000 or $2,000 to get operational support in your business when you're busy, to get support in your business, really think about it as a lifestyle investment more than a business expense, because that's what it ends up being. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Cool.
But we totally derailed your slide there. I think you saw it before.
That's okay, man. This is what I love to do this. This is fun.
Mark was like, ask me questions as I go. And he didn't think that we were just going to be, taking it in a completely different direction at all.
Guys, I don't even need slides. This is just to keep me talking in a line, linear conversation. We could just shoot the breeze and answer all questions all night. That would be fun.
Yeah. So for all of y'all in the chat, like what questions do you guys have so far? I'd like to hear from y'all. I appreciate Rebecca for chiming in and asking something, because that's huge. I mean, if you're at the point where it's like you're feeling that strain and you're needing that assistance, like it's a good problem to have. So
yeah, true story. I think more people lose themselves because they are successful in their business than people who lose themselves who are not. And the reason I say that is because when I see people, I talk to them all the time, people who have been successful, they got to capacity, they're really over their capacity, doing 3 or 4 inspections a day, pulling their hair out, just trying to keep up. They feel like if they give something away, they're going to be giving away relationships and never get it back. And so they never say no to anything. They lose their sense of boundaries. The next thing we start seeing is that their health falls apart. Their family connection starts to fall off. They start to lose connection to why they got into business in the first place, because they've become a slave to the business. And instead of the business helping them build something in their life, they're just spending their whole life building the business. And in case it's helpful for anybody to hear this, that could That is so backwards, you guys. Like the business has one purpose, only one purpose. And that purpose is to help you build the life that you're looking to build. That's it. And it doesn't matter what business it is. It could be home inspections. It could be something else in a year or 5 years or 10 years. But we have to look through the lens in business that we're building a life, not that we're here just to serve a business because we happen to be doing home inspections. So to that VA point, oh, go ahead.
No. We got some great questions coming in on the chat.
Really good ones.
That was all. And so, like Steve says, we're in a seller's market right now, and inspections are being waived frequently. Is there any way to get around this? And Mark, I feel like you might have some insight on this. I definitely have a little bit too. Like one of the things that I learned early on was like change strategies. So right now you're probably trying to market to buyers, but maybe don't market to buyers. If they're waiving, maybe start marketing to sellers or homeowners, because we do real estate transactions, but there's absolutely no reason why the general public wouldn't be interested in having their home inspected periodically just to see where they're at maintenance wise, because the general public has absolutely no idea where they stand in terms of home maintenance. The problem is, or I say problem, but the difference is we don't really market that. As home inspectors, we're not really hot on that because we're busy doing real estate related inspections, real estate transaction related inspections. So that's one strategy I think I could recommend implementing. Change your strategy, start marketing to a different culture of people.
And this is where, Mark, kind of going back to one of your earlier slides where a lot of people are implementing marketing when they need to be implementing sales. This is where they kind of weave together. And in a few weeks, we're going to get into what they both are and how they're two different sides of the same coin, right? Because one works with the other. Marketing is how you pitch something. Sales is the ability to pitch it. And, where this worked well for me when I was doing full-time inspections in the Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia area, I did this all during COVID when everybody else was at home, but there were thousands and thousands of people that were leaving the city and going to the suburbs. And again, it was competitive, multiple offers on houses, cash buyers, and people waiving inspections. So what we started offering was in Virginia, they don't allow walk-in talks. That's something that other industries or other regions will allow, other states. Yeah. But in Virginia, they didn't allow a walk-in talk. So we didn't call it that. Good marketing is changing the name. We did what was called a pre-offer evaluation, which was just a light home inspection that provided a very simplified report for a slightly lesser fee. But there were times where I did 4 pre-offer evaluations, AKA a glorified walk-in talk, for the same buyer. Like the one offer fell through, so they'd call me a week later. That one fell through, they'd call me a week later. And so it's, marketing is going, okay, well, if what's hot in my region right now, how do I keep working? So you offer something that's going to appeal to the people that are in that market at that time. So if they're waiving it, how do you not get waived? Well, be like, well, are you sure you really want to put in an offer sight unseen? How about I go look at it for you? Well, are you sure that you don't want me to just come walk through that with you for an hour? And you can do that even if it's a little bit less money than what you'd make for a full inspection. So it's marketing and sales right there.
I had a wild idea just kind of in the middle of all of this, but I mean, like, what if you started kind of, like you said, you're calling it something different, right? What if we literally were marketing to people and saying, okay, so people are waiving inspection, so you felt forced to put that offer in on that house. Now you own the house and you don't know anything about it. Wouldn't you like to figure out some things about it now? Like turning it around and marketing to the recent home purchaser to say, hey, okay, you didn't get an inspection when you bought it, but let's try to figure out what's going on with that house now so you can have some strategies down the road. I don't know.
We did a podcast episode with a lady who does, they're basically home inspections, but she does them for property management companies. You could do something similar and call it a post-tenant evaluation, right? Like or I've done this for investors before that are looking to, especially in Nashville and in Florida during the COVID boom, people were buying out of state all the time. So I would offer something like an investor evaluation. where it's like, oh, where they're like, oh, what's that? It's a home inspection. Then make sure that you're not buying a piece of crap. But it sounds cool. It sounds like exactly what they need. So getting savvy with that kind of stuff is important. But really, Mark, I want to bring this back to what you were talking about, where people just need to be focused on selling. One of the questions was, do we need to just be really good at sales in order to succeed? And in some small measure, yes, you do. You have to have that drive to be able to go out and get the deal.
Let me rephrase that a little bit for those people who say, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Because this is where I run into a lot of times. I'm not a people person. I don't want to go to open houses. I don't want to network. I don't want to pick up the phone. And there's a little bit of a shift on what you just said that I would offer people. You don't have to be a great salesperson. You need to be becoming a great salesperson. And the only way that you do that is by practicing sales. So you learn something, you go do it. You learn something, you go do it. You take a little note on how it went, you go improve the next time. And so this is kind of like the leadership question. You have to be doing it all the time as a lifestyle in your business, as an entrepreneur. Sales, like, you don't have a business if you're not going to nail sales, period. Like, for those of you who are just going to refuse to ever go talk to anybody, you may as well hang it up now, because we are a relationship marketing business. Unless you just have stacks of cash to spend on, pay-per-click and all of the digital assets, and you can lose money on that, that's different. But I've not met anybody that has that. The other thing I'd say...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to also pile a couple thoughts on with the inspections waived conversation too. And so all of this goes together, right? Sales, how to talk about your company, how to actually bring business to you, attract people to you that are going to bring business. And then if you're dealing with things like waived inspections, or even just a market that's on the decline, it's all the same question. It's all the same answer. You've got to get out there as an interesting, trustworthy person and talk to the right people so that you're bringing market share your direction. There's tons of markets we saw that were waiving what seemed like almost every inspection for some periods a few years ago. And people were going, what the heck do we do? And it was this exact conversation. Well, this is where we started to see walk-in talks and different types of products being offered. Now, that's perfect. That's great for the current situation. But one thing to think about is that's difficult to unwind once things get better, because yes, now you have this product, and agents are going to want this, buyers are going to want this. You just have to think about how you're going to start to unwind it and go back to full inspections. The other thing that we saw a lot of companies be successful with is they did not sit back and tolerate waived inspections. They built the relationships in their market with the agents strong enough so that they could say, this is important. Let's do a solid for your people. And they did education. They maintained the relationships. They used it as an opportunity to go deeper into relationship with agents that were tempted to waive inspections, or people that were tempted to waive. People are going to waive. It's going to happen. But if you're just sitting back passively allowing it to happen, then you're going to be harmed by your market. But you can be a more powerful entrepreneur than that. You can go out and find the agents who are not willing to tolerate waived inspections and build those relationships, and then they'll introduce you to their friends who are just as bold. We saw a lot of large companies winning in their markets and taking market share because of exactly that. We're going to go make it happen rather than sit back and watch it not happen.
Oh, that's really
good. I
think
some of these sales topics and marketing topics really tie in really well to a question that came in from Jeannie, who was considering whether or not she should start an inspection company of her own, or go work for an inspection company. And I mean, I think to tie it into what we're talking about, as well as some other topics, I mean, if you're concerned about sales and marketing, working for an inspection firm is a great idea, because they can do some of that for you, and you
They
can kind
can
of
help.
learn. If it's something that you want to do one day, then maybe you can take that turn. There's a lot of reasons why I think, especially if you're new to the industry, getting in with an inspection firm is a really good idea. That is one of them, because you can kind of get to work. They can give you additional training, tools, eliminate some of your overhead, and you can get out there, get to work, start getting some experience, and you don't have to worry about bringing in the business. That's one of the reasons why I actually think it's wise for new inspectors to work for a firm instead of starting their own company right off the gate.
Yeah, that's good. And to Taylor's question about how do I approach somebody about riding along with a more experienced inspector, if you're in a smaller neck of the woods, social media is huge. You can look and see who's in your area, who's operating at a high capacity, and just be bold enough to ask. Seriously, it's the squeaky wheel gets greased, and home inspectors are some of the most humble people that I've worked with. Maybe not all of them, but a good number of them, and they're more than happy to help. But Mark, let's get back to what you've got to share here about how they can be really building out their purpose, so that their business works to achieve the life that they're envisioning for themselves. Because that's where the homework's going to come in, and that's what's going to set the foundation for a successful career as their own business owner.
Completely agree, man. Here's what I see most often is that people set out to build a business and then realize that they need to do the work of building a life after all the pain of their business has kicked in. And so what I want people to do is to pause and to think bigger than the business. Why does my business need to exist at all? And so that's why we're having this conversation tonight, why we're kind of laying this out, is your business needs a reason to excel. Or else, when all of those questions start popping up, like how do I get around waived inspections, or what do I do in a down market, or how do I become a better salesperson, you don't just freeze at that level of problem. Instead, you can say, I'm going to make this work because I'm building something with my life, and it must work in order to build that life. So I guess we'll go back to the slide here and let's push on. So the first thing that we want to talk about is that most people will actually leave the industry after having never done an inspection, and a lot of other people will fail out because they're not quite sure how to really excel in business in the first place. And we want to build in the right order. That's what we're going to talk about, and that's why we're going to talk about life vision. Okay, so don't tune me out just because you heard the word vision. I've been doing this for a long time and with thousands of companies at this point. And so I know that sometimes when people hear the word vision, they think of some sort of corporate plaque on a wall somewhere that every once in a while the team talks about, and it doesn't actually mean anything. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something different, something that actually gives you a direction, a North Star, a thing that you're excited about when you think about it. Again, a reason for your business to excel. By definition, your business is a problem. Did you know that we get into business to solve problems for people, and that's how we make money? And because business is a problem that we are continually solving for other people, business ends up becoming a problem for us. And one thing we love to call people's attention to in coaching is that you can very rarely actually solve a problem at the same level of the problem. What's more successful is that you get above it and that you look at a higher level view, and then it's easier to solve your problem. And so that's why we talk about life vision being bigger than the business. Like, we got to have something more elevated than what's happening on Tuesday in your inspection company. All right, so this is the one other thing I'll say before I kick into this vision piece is we hear this all the time, like, my company is my baby. People treat it very, very delicately, and they have a lot of sentimental emotions around being a business owner, and they pour all of their life and energy into it, and so they have this attachment to it. And that's okay to feel attached to your business. I feel attached to mine for sure. But something you have to realize right now, especially as you're getting started or accelerating your growth, is that your business is not your baby. Your baby represents your family. Your business represents how you provide for your family. And it's just a little bit of a shift that has massive change in your mind as you start to build. Because if you build your business like it's your baby, like it's the only thing that will ever matter, and you've got to sacrifice everything to it, then at some point you will be sacrificed for your business. But if you think bigger and you think my business must sacrifice for me, then you're going to treat your resources differently. You're going to treat your time differently, your boundaries. You're still going to have grit and grind and hard work and long hours. That's not going away, but it'll have a way higher meaning, and it'll be easier to get through roadblocks as those things come. All right, so let's push into this. To develop an actual vision, most people think of their business vision, which is, in a concise way, what am I building and who am I building it for? And so that's a really great way to think of building a vision for your business. What am I building? Who am I building it for? And we hear things like, well, I'm building a home service business that brings peace of mind to my market by educating home buyers, potential home buyers. That's actually a really common framing for home inspection business visions. That's important. But when we think about a life vision, that's something a little bit different. And so your life vision is the answer to the question, what do I want? And so if you've never done this kind of work before, write that down for yourself and revisit it later after you've heard me talk through this for a moment. What do I want? Not what do I want to do for work? What do I want to do in business? But what do I actually want? And I can tell you, I'll fast forward the conversation a little bit for you. Most people end up at time freedom, financial freedom, and the ability to do some version of what I want when I want to with the people that I love. So when you think about that, actually, when I think about it, I've never heard anybody say, my life vision is to work 80 hours a week, or my life vision is to do 10,000 inspections. It's usually something more in the aspirational lane of love, connection, health, freedom, things like that. And so when you make this really practical and you build a life vision for yourself, you have to start to ask yourself all of the what I want kind of questions. Here's how this works. So picture yourself 3 to 5 years from now. We used to say 20 years, but that science doesn't really support that anymore. Things change too fast. So we say 3 to 5 years now. And get really, really vivid with this and ask yourself, where do you want to be? How much time do you want to spend in your business in 3 to 5 years? What does your home and office look like? What does your health look like? What do you want to do with your family? Do you want to be somebody who eats a certain way? How much money do you actually need for this lifestyle that you're describing? And that deserves a number, by the way. You should have a number tied to how much money you want to make and what your lifestyle will need. And so as you do all of the work, answering the question, what do I want? What kind of life am I building? What you're really doing is you're establishing a target for yourself that you can then give to your business. Hey, business, this is what I'm actually building. Now you need to serve me and help me build it. Rather than, hey, business, here I am to serve all of your needs and sacrifice myself for you. There's 2 ingredients that go into having a really, really great, compelling vision for your life. Same is true for your business, but we're talking about life right now. One is that it is vivid, meaning it is clear. You've done the thought work. You can kind of see it. Not to say that it's written in stone and it'll never change, because that's not realistic. But what we want is that you've actually done the thought work. And when you think about your vision, that version of you in the future in your life, you can actually almost touch it because it's described so well. And that takes a lot of writing. It takes a lot of thought work. It can't be vague. So vivid. The second ingredient, and there's only 2, so write these down if you need them. It needs to be vivid. You've got to do the thought work. You've got to define it and describe it. The second one is that it needs to move you. There needs to be some level of emotional connection to the vision. So personally, for me, when I think about money, it doesn't really move me a whole lot. It doesn't. I could make $3 million a year. I could make $10 million a year, whatever. It doesn't excite me a whole lot because my needs are already met. My family's taken care of at lower levels of income than that. And so thinking about making a lot more money isn't super moving to me. But when I think about the impact that we have doing the work that I do, man, that lights me up. And so I could see myself doing that for a long time and getting really, really excited about it when I think about how deep we can go in the future with this. And so it's vivid, the vision, and then it needs to move you. P.S., pro tip, if you will, it doesn't always have to be a positive emotion. It just needs to cause an emotion. And so sometimes for me personally, I get frustrated, almost pissed off, if you will, that I'm not there yet. I want to be in that future version so badly. It just moves me. I get excited or sometimes a little frustrated, but I'm not neutral. Like, I'm passionate about it. So a life vision really leads to this. And this is a key concept for you guys. When you have a vivid, emotionally compelling life vision, your business only has two options: help you build it or get out of the way so that you can do something else that will help you build it. Do you kind of hear the resolve in that? Do you hear the just the power in thinking like that? No matter what problem comes my way, I know who I am. I know what I'm building. I know how I'm going to do it. I know who I'm doing it for also. And so there's no problem that's going to stop me. If this business doesn't do it, some other business will. I'll find a way because I know what life I'm building. So this business is going to help me do it, or it's going to get out of my way. Love that concept.
Mark, I've got a question when it comes
Please.
to a vivid picture for your life, a vivid goal. So, putting all of this together, how do you hold on to this vision when life gets in the way? And does the vision sometimes have to be sacrificed to reality?
That's a great question, man. And I feel a little hint of experience coming in with that question. And so what I'll say is that the reason we set a vision 3 to 5 years out is because it's meant to be specific enough for us to know what direction to go, but at the same time, vague enough for us to be able to change it as we grow. So your vision is never written in stone. You may grow as a person and realize that there's a different version of it and you'll start walking that direction. Or you may actually realize that it was never your vision to begin with. And so those are all possibilities that are on the table. We don't want to take those possibilities away. But one thing that we probably should not accept is that things are hard, and so I no longer want to do it. And I think that's what gets in the way for a lot of people, is they're not exactly clear about the future, but they kind of know the direction they want to go. And to what you called out at the beginning of this call, like they kind of know where they want to go in the future, but they don't know what to do in the next 10 minutes to get there. Like, what do I actually do today to build the future that I want? And that's what actually disconnects people from their vision. But here's how you stay connected. At the end of this call, if we make it there, we'll talk about the personal operating system that keeps you really oriented and pointed the direction you want to go. And that's rhythms, man. It's thinking frequently about your 3 to 5 year life vision. It's your annual goals. It's your quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily objectives, or rhythms, as we call them. And I'll give more life to that if you want to right now, or we can get to it in the talk. But at the end of the day, the answer is easy. You stay connected to the things you're looking at. And most people just aren't looking at their vision. They're not looking ahead. They're just getting so beat down in the weeds and the busyness that they can't think further out than today. So you've got to get those goals out. You've got to get that vision out, put it in writing, and look at it frequently.
Walk us how to get there, man.
All right, cool. So as we're talking about this, vision is the starting point, right? And so we want to define it. It's vivid, it's emotional. And then the purpose piece is really important too. And this is one of the things that I think causes people to have a lot of pain in their business building, is that they attach themselves to the role they have in their business as if it is their purpose in life. Your purpose in life is not to be a home inspector. I want everybody to hear that in case it's helpful. Like, your purpose in life is to serve other people in some capacity, and you get to decide what that is. And that's critical. And I'll tell you why as we walk this out. If everything you do for your purpose boils down to your role, then anytime your role is questioned or anytime your role isn't working out so well, you are questioned. You are not working out so well. And so we can't really attach ourselves to the role. We need to attach ourselves to the vision. And so most of the inspectors that we talk to really kind of question their purpose in life at some point. And so we like to put this kind of at the front of the line in the work that you do to start your business. And so identifying your role really is about identifying what you're here on this planet to do. It's way bigger than the business, right? So vision, and then what is your role within that vision? What are you here to do? Mine, personally, I'm here to build impact companies. And my mantra is that I want to build impact that builds impact. And so because of that, I build coaching businesses, and I have several of them. And so for you, you happen to be in the home inspection business, but what's your actual purpose? Because of the life you're building, what is your purpose? And then you get to have the fun conversation of how does your business help you accomplish that purpose? For a lot of people, it's things like, I love to educate home buyers. Totally awesome. That's a great purpose if you decide that that's your purpose. That's different than a role, though. And we could continue to go on with a lot of different examples of this, but at the end of the day, this is the concept. You are more than what you do. Your purpose is who you are, not the role you hold. Okay. And so vision and purpose, two really important things. And so this, I'll skip by that actually for now so we can squeeze into the personal operating system. This is how it goes. This is how we actually start to do the work of vision and purpose. And this might seem weird to some of you who have never sort of been through this level of personal development and growth work before in your life. But what I've observed is that high-performing, high-achieving people, if they don't start here, they eventually end up here because of a painful process of growth and having to go back to reinventing themselves and understanding who they are. And so I want you guys to write down these questions. There's only 4 of them, and work on them. And we'll talk about how to work on them toward the end of the call. But the first one is, who am I? Great start for building your vision and your purpose. Answering the question, who am I, is actually really tough for a lot of people. What you're going to be tempted to do is answer the question, who am I, with what you actually do. Who am I? I'm a home inspector. Who am I? I'm a father. Who am I? I'm a person who is building a business. But we've already said that you're bigger than what you do. And so I want to just tell you the answer to who am I is going to be more about what you believe about yourself than it is about what you actually do. I believe I'm a person who loves to serve others. I believe I'm a person who knows that if I put myself above other people, I'm going to get a bad result. And so I'm going to put other people above me. You see how that's a little bit different than I'm a home inspector or I'm a coach. Who am I? And then what am I doing? This is actually your vision question. And so what am I doing? Well, I'm not just doing home inspections, you guys. I'm not just a technician. I'm not just somebody who's trying to earn $300 on an inspection. It should be more than 300, but that's a different conversation. I'm somebody who is here to serve the world through business. Way bigger than business, you guys. Who am I? Well, okay, we've got that in check. What am I doing? I'm building a life. And because I'm building a life, I'm doing this in business. And because I'm doing this in business, here are the people I serve. Which leads to the next question, which is, how am I doing it? This is where you start to get into all the strategy of building business and things like what I'll share with you in a moment, the personal operating system. How am I doing it? If you're just following along for tonight, it's, I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do. And now I know that I need to put some business structure in place. I need to put some accountability in place. I need to put some systems, processes, and learning for myself in place so that I can build this business, so that it can help me build my life vision, so that I can live the life I set out to live. And then finally, who am I doing it for? This is a missed step when we're starting a business. A lot of people are thinking about how much money they need to pay their bills and what kind of money they'll make when they're scaling their company. All of that's super important. I want you guys to make as much money as possible for as little work as possible while providing a great product. But a lot of people don't necessarily do the work of understanding who they're doing all of this for in the first place. And again, this starts bigger than business, but all of these questions can help you build your business as well. Here's an example. Outside the business, I am a person who believes in serving others. What am I doing? I happen to be building impact businesses so that I can lean into who I am, serving other people. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to develop myself into a world-class coach. I'm going to hire other coaches, and we're going to build these amazing mastermind communities. And who am I doing it for? You know who I'm really doing it for? The people we're serving have families, and they have employees, and they have friends, and they have other people that they will be able to pour into if we're able to impact their life, which is impact that creates impact. And so now when I think about home inspectors and we run through the same level of questions, you should be having a way higher view at this point of why you're in business in the first place, so that when those problems come, they don't completely knock you off of where you're headed or what you're doing. All right. So, oh yeah, I wanted to make this point a little stronger, so I'm going to. Who am I doing it for? This is not like, none of this is about us. I'm an entrepreneur. I lead a couple of businesses, 3 businesses. And at the end of the day, if I make it all about me, then I'm permanently the ceiling on what I can achieve. But think about this. Have you ever tried to serve anybody or make any money without people involved? In your business, in your life, have you ever tried to serve anybody or make any money without other people involved? And the truth is it's not possible. There must be some level of service or some view of service in your life and in your business to build the life that you're going to build. And so I just wanted to emphasize that who am I doing it for piece is critical. And it could be for you. That's totally fine if that's where you end up. But there should be some element too of family, community, your people that work for you eventually, other people that you serve. All right. You guys want to push through the roadmap, the personal operating system? Brad, Matt, how you guys feeling?
Hanging in there, man,
Good.
for sure. Besides Matt being a troll in the chat.
Your mom?
man.
What in the world?
She's buying a house in Texas.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, keep us going. Bring us home with the system, man.
You got it. All right. So this is a system that I teach people when I'm doing one-on-one coaching with really high-level large companies. We do this work. And it's also the same system we teach people at every level of business in our industry. And we teach it not because Mark came up with an amazing idea one day, but because this is science-backed, battle-tested, excellent business practice. Okay. And so I just want you to hear, this isn't my idea. I'm passing on to you wisdom that I've gotten from lots of other smart coaches, lots of other people that I respect, research I've done, and things that I see working in really successful companies. And so take a picture of this if you need to, or write it all down. But this is the rhythm of the personal operating system. And it kind of ties together everything we've been talking about. Once you know who you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and who you're doing it for, now you apply this system to it, and it will help point you this direction and keep you pointed that direction of your vision and your purpose. First thing is that 3 to 5 year vision, which we talked about. So I won't go too much into that, but it is the starting point. Once you have that 3 to 5 year vision, then you get into what we call your 1 year strategic plan. Now, your 1 year strategic plan in business is often where we say things like, I want to make this much revenue, this much profit, do this much volume, talk to this many agents. It's kind of easy to tie numbers to a 1 year strategic plan in business. When we think about life, it gets a little bit more ambiguous. What we teach is to have a view on your whole life and have plans for growing yourself in different parts of your life. And so, 3 to 5 year vision: who am I becoming? What life am I building? Now, what do I need to accomplish in 1 year so that I'm building that 3 to 5 year vision? And so, when you think about your 1 year strategic plan, we think life and we think business. It's easy to put all those business metrics in place, but if you need help with that, IEB can help you with that. In the life category, it's what do I need to accomplish this year in order to continue building my life vision? But here's where it gets really powerful, because I think most people are okay with like annual goals. That's why we have so many people in January doing their new year, new me stuff. People understand annual goals. What people don't understand are the rhythms it takes to stay focused on those goals throughout the year and to continually walk toward your vision and actually build it. And so, with a 1 year strategic plan, we break it down into quarterly strategy assessments, monthly checkpoints for your activity, weekly goal review, and then also daily rhythms. Those are all the steps to the system. So let's go through those each briefly. When you think about your your quarterly piece, every 90 days, each new quarter, we should be asking ourselves this question: is the strategy I put in place working? Now, remember, I already said at the beginning of this call, one of the reasons businesses fail and lives fail, people fail in life, is because they're strategy hopping, reinventing things all the time, never sticking with anything, never growing and actually learning and improving because they're strategy hopping. And so this is leading right into our system here. Every 90 days, we want to ask ourselves, is my strategy working? If it is, we're going to double down, keep learning, keep improving. If it's not working, then we're going to pivot. And we have to pivot with courage, because sometimes it takes some courage. What we don't want to do is pivot inside those 90 days, just in case we haven't given it enough time to improve. Now, if you're not sure what the answer is, I'm not sure if my strategy is working, I'm not sure if it's not working or is working, then we want to give it a little more time and maybe another quarter and continue to try to improve and get the results that we're looking for. But the key question every 90 days with an appointment for yourself on your calendar is my strategy working? If it is, double down. If it's not, pivot. If you need help pivoting in your strategy, well, that's what people like me are for. We love to help people do that kind of stuff. Now, that's your quarterly checkpoint. Every single month, every 30-ish days, there should be an appointment for yourself on your calendar, even if it's just 15 minutes, to ask yourself your monthly question: am I doing what I said I would do? If you've got a great life vision, you've got a great strategic year planned out, that means there should be activity tied to it that you've committed to, whether it is business activity like growth work, or whether it is personal activity like I'm going to improve my health or my family connection or whatever it is. There should be activity outlined, and you have to commit. And so one of the best things you can do is ask yourself every 30 days, am I doing what I said I would do? And then if you're not, we're going to start doing what we said we were going to do. We're not going to change the goal. We're not going to go back on our commitments. We're going to get our butts in gear, and we're going to get to the activity we said was important in the first place. Really, really important. And then weekly goal review. So you've got your 3 to 5 year vision. You've got your annual strategy that you've laid out, including all your annual goals that help you build your life vision. You've got your quarterly strategic assessment of your life and business. You've got your monthly activity checks. Am I doing the things I said I would do? And then the weekly goal review, the thing you're going to do once a week. I believe that this is the most important piece of the entire equation here, your weekly goal review. Brad asked earlier a question about feeling disconnected from your vision. It's very, very easy to disconnect from your vision if you're not looking at it. So the way that I teach it in the personal operating system is that on a weekly basis, typically on a Sunday or maybe early Monday morning, but before your work week begins, you want to have about 20 minutes with yourself to just review what you said was important to you. Orient yourself toward your vision. And it could take just a couple minutes. Oh yeah, that's what I said was important to me. And we want to do this weekly because The more you think about something, the easier it is to build habits around it. And that's neurology 101, you guys. The more you think something, the easier it is to think it. The more you look at your vision and your goals for your life and for your business, the easier it is to subconsciously start working on those without much effort. And so we want to put in the reps weekly, looking at our goals and looking at our vision so that we're taking advantage of how our brains work and we're optimizing each week for that 3 to 5 year vision. Okay, this ties everything together. So once you've taken a brief look at your vision and your goals, then what you do with your week is you optimize your week for energy, not for money, not for time, although those things are important. I say optimize your week for energy, which includes money and time. Now, when we start thinking about weekly optimization, that's where we get into all the nerdy high performance things like time blocking, time batching, eliminating task switching, making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who fill you up, making sure you're doing things that create energy, not just take energy away from you, critical things. And then finally, your daily rhythms. I think most of us are used to talking through something like your morning routine, how you conduct yourself throughout each day, and then your evening routines. But what I'll say briefly is that your morning routine is critical. I know for a lot of you in business, you're working late, you get up, you go straight to work. Stop doing that. And don't ever get into the habit of that if you can help it. There's going to be days where you got to just get up and go grind. I get it. But as a general practice, as a rule, if you want to play the long game and build a life and have a business that helps you build a life, you have to play this game intelligently, which means when you get up, you're priming yourself for the day, whatever that means for you. For me, it's body, spirit, and mind. I learn something, I exercise, and I have a quiet time reading scripture every morning. For you, it might mean something different. It doesn't matter what time you get up. It just matters that you get up on purpose and with purpose. Okay. And then throughout the day, one of my favorite principles is optimize for energy. And so you want to try to make sure you're not giving away all of your energy to your business and you're ending your day with gas still in the tank, which gets really, really hard if you are running a business and doing all the growth work that goes into that. And then evening routine briefly is whatever you decide to do to purposefully end your day, hopefully with some things that fill you back up, help you rest, and help you deeply connect with people you love. And so the whole system all together looks like this. You can take a picture of this slide too. It's a good one. Your 3 to 5 year vision for the life and the business you are building, broken down into your 1 year plan that includes numbers-driven goals as well as lifestyle goals, your quarterly strategy work, your monthly activity checks. Am I doing the things I said I would? Your weekly goal review, and your daily rhythms. Now, I've been doing this for a long time. What I know to be true is the minute you put a system like this in place, something's going to happen that knocks you off that system. Happens to me all the time. I travel all the time to go to conferences and do speaking and things like that. It's very difficult to get back on routine sometimes. And so I just want to call that right out. If you take this seriously, it will completely change your life and the way that you show up in your life and in your business. But you're going to get knocked off track. So make sure that in your mind, that's just a normal part of the process. If I didn't get my weekly goal review in this week, I'm going to do it next week. If I didn't get my monthly activity check-in this month, I'll do it as soon as I can and get back into rhythm with it. And so those people who think like that go way further, way faster than the people who get completely bummed out that they're not consistent all the time and then just kind of stall out. Your business is just a vehicle. What I want for you guys is to be able to drive it the direction you want to go, not so that it is driving you somewhere off of a cliff. That starts with having a compelling and vivid life vision, defining your purpose, like what you're here on this planet to do, and then go do that in your business, and then following a roadmap like what I just laid out for the personal operating system. And with that, we are happy to help you guys with all of this in IEB. But I want to just, Brad, Matt, where do you want to go with this, man? We can dive deeper into some of this, answer some more questions. What can I do to be helpful at this point?
Well, I'm going to tell them first and foremost what the follow-up stuff is here, because again, it's real easy to sit through a lecture or a presentation. I mean, this is going back to school. This is from the ground up, how to build a business with intention, and it's easy to go, yeah, that was really good, and it's also 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. It's time for dinner. And then we forget about all of it. I mean, I'm in a coaching group with you, and don't kick me out for saying it, but there's so many times where I get to Monday night and I go, oh shoot, yeah, we were supposed to have this thing done. You know what I'm saying? And so it's easy if you're not intentional, like what he was talking about, guys. None of this will matter. All of it will just be good information. And what frustrates me more than anything is getting in a room full of people that have some good ideas, but they've never tried to execute. There's so many people who've read a book about how to build a business, but Matt and I, we had a guest on the podcast a couple weeks ago. She had no idea about any of this stuff. She goes, nah, I took out a bunch of credit cards and I started paying for ads, and I'm now doing 3 inspections a day, and I paid off my debt. And we're like, why?
That's execution.
Yeah, she has no idea what she did. She just did it, But the thing was, it was like, what's that?
She was driven.
She was driven. That's it. And I would, if you could find people that have that energy and give them access to this information, man, she'd be blowing the doors off of it even more than she already is. But honestly, you got one or two choices now, right? You can either log off from this and never do anything else with it. But I would certainly hope that that's not the case. Because what I would like for you guys to do is to actually, I got to click all the way to the end of it here. Participate with the homework, right? Do exactly what he was saying this week. Take some time and write down. Don't just type it out. Write it down. About who you are, what you're doing, and what you're building this for. Try to write out your 3-year vision. This isn't even focusing on your business strategy yet. This is just writing out your 3 to 5 year vision for yourself, and then how your business will fit into that. And then try to write out a strategic plan from that. And then, when we get back together in a couple weeks, we'll talk more intently about what a good business strategy looks like building on this. But it all starts here, seriously. So I hope this is something that you guys really take to heart. I hope this is something that you guys interact with, because you guys are getting this for free today. But there's a lot of people that pay a lot of money for access to the level of knowledge that Mark is sharing and that IEB offers. Honestly, I encourage you guys to go take part in IEB. That's one of the reasons that I wanted Mark to kick this whole thing off. One, if I did this lecture today, I would just be regurgitating everything he already said. So I would much rather it come straight from the horse's mouth. Not that Mark is a horse. You saw that picture at the beginning. He looks way better than a horse, right? But honestly, this is some good stuff here, guys. So I'm going to be posting all of this on the Thinkific website. But while I grab that link, Matt, what have you got? What stood out to you, man?
Man, honestly, I feel like I can't wait to review some of this material, because I mean, like, I've been in business for 10 years. Like, this is kind of geared towards people that are getting started to some degree, but I mean, like, there's so much that I haven't looked at things through that lens probably ever. I operate a lot differently. I've been very successful, but I feel like implementing some of these strategies could bring me some peace because I am quite chaotic with the business running. And I mean, it's good. It runs. It's successful. We're doing great. But I think, like I said before, I didn't implement strategies early on that maybe I should have, and I paid the price later. And so I'm looking forward to kind of just like reviewing all this and kind of getting started on some of this myself, even though I have an established business. I want to implement some of these strategies just for maybe some peace of mind moving forward in business growth.
Can I say, Matt, that one thing you just said sticks out to me, and I want to tell everybody my experience on this. You've been in business 10 years, is that what you said?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So there are people in the industry who have been in business for 10, 15, 20 years as a solo operator or a small team. And sometimes they'll come to IEB and they'll tell us things like, there's not really anything I need to learn in the business, or I've tried everything. And there's all these sort of thoughts of like, can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? That kind of mindset people have. But that's when we're just thinking at the level of business. And when we're thinking bigger than the business, it opens up an entire new world of development that really takes the ceiling off of your business in general. And the reason I thought I should say this out loud is so that everybody hears me say, those people who have been in business for 20 years, when they start doing this, things change. And the same is true for enterprise level companies. When I'm working with people who are doing, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million a year in their inspection business, this works. This is what they're doing. And then it applies to their entire team. So these things are very simple to talk about, hard to pull off, but they work.
No, it's fantastic.
That's great information.
And guys, I posted that that course or that link for Thinkific over there. I'm going to repost this entire video over on Thinkific later on once I download it. So give it a little bit of time, and there'll be a quiz on there too. So if you guys want to refresh your memory on some things, we're doing this super professional here. But yeah, Monty said he's been. I don't know what SE is. I'm sorry, man, but for 30 years, is that a level in IEB?
I think that's what he's been doing for 30 years. Monty, man, good to see you in here. I just had a nice hour and a half or so.
Yeah. Yep.
I just had a long conversation with Monty. Awesome guy. I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. He's been doing this for a while, but still, it's a refresher for him. So, guys, thank you all so much. Honestly, this was truly. I mean, you guys gave 90 minutes of your time. Mark gave his as well. We appreciate all of you, and Steve, we're looking forward to the next session as well. Like I said, this is going to be a 3-month, twice a month thing, and. This is even like Rick said, he's been inspecting for 18 years and he's looking for new information. Invite people. Honestly, we peaked at around 30 to 35, I think, today. And I would love to blow the doors off of this. So if there's some other inspectors that you guys think would benefit, we would love for you guys to invite them for the next one.
And listen up, guys. There's a lot of questions coming in about because there's a lot of open house questions and how to implement those strategies and everything. Listen, come back. What is it, August 5th or whatever? I'm going to be talking about open houses. I'm going to be talking about marketing strategies. That is one of them. And getting starting up relationships with agents. That's another one. We got a lot of topics we're going to go over. So come back for that one, and we're going to dive deep into that stuff.
Sounds good, guys. And hit that react button and thank Mark for coming on out here today and sharing. That was a labor of love from him for sure. So.
Appreciate you guys.
Mark, where can they go to sign up for or to register to participate with IEB? And what do you guys have coming up?
Oh, dude. So we got quite a lot of things coming up. I'll be brief and say first, you can find out all kinds of things about IEB by going to iebcoaching.com. So all of our coaching memberships are there. All of our events are there, but we've got retreats coming up. We've got in-person classes. We'll be doing an IEB day at the Fuel Conference in September. So we're really excited about that. We'll be joining you guys out there. All kinds of ways to connect or to learn about IEB. And then anybody can connect with me on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You can send me a message, and I love interacting with people. We can jump on a phone call or whatever it is to align our schedules if I can help anybody with anything.
Good stuff. Well, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. And, be sure to go subscribe to the Ride Along in between time. Catch up on some of that as well. So, all right, y'all have a good night. We'll see you here next time.